Hi, and welcome to the Getting Started with Adobe ColdFusion 8 video tutorial from dreamandcode.net. Today I'm going to show you how to install and configure your first web application. The first thing you'll want to do is go to adobe.com and download a free trial. The free trial is available for various platforms including Windows, Linux, Sun, and Mac OS X. We're going to do Windows today, and it's about a 330 meg download. It takes about 30 minutes on a broadband connection, so we'll skip that part here and we'll jump right into the install. Once the installer is open, you'll be prompted for the install language. It'll take just a couple seconds to open, and once we're in, we're going to be prompted for a license agreement. Agree to that, click Next, and then select the Developer Edition, which will give you an unlimited license for a single IP to host and test your own applications locally. We're going to use the server configuration, but there are other configurations available. Uncheck the ColdFusion 8 documentation, as it contains examples that do have vulnerabilities in them, and the examples are online. We'll install in the default directory on the C or D drive. In my case, this is D. You'll be prompted for a license agreement for Adobe Livecycle, which is a new addition to ColdFusion 8. You can leave the serial number blank and it'll give you a 120-day trial. We use the built-in web server, but you could also use IIS 6 if you'd like. The built-in web server will give us the opportunity to test locally without an additional web server installed. This is where you'll enter a password. In this case, we're just using password, but this will be used to access the administrator and other secure areas. Confirm your install information and go ahead and click Install. This will take 20 to 30 minutes on a decent computer, and if you have a nice big server set up, it takes 15 to 20 minutes. We're going to go ahead and skip through most of that process and jump straight into the configuration. You'll notice that right now it's starting the Windows service. ColdFusion does run on Windows services, and you can start and stop those from the admin control panel in Windows. Under the services section, you'll see 3 services. If you set up the search, you'll also see an additional search option. Now we're going to configure the ODBC services and the ColdFusion server. You should now see a browser that's opened up, and this will take just a second to go through. Once you click OK, it's going to launch the ColdFusion administrator. There's various options in here, but we'll familiarize you with just a few of them. You can see under settings, you can configure timeouts, per app settings, HTTP status codes. You can also configure the mail server. You can punch in an SMTP server in there to send mail. If you need to configure ODBC, Access, SQL, MySQL data sources, you can do so through data sources. You'll want to go ahead and turn on the debugging settings, and that way we can see the output when we're creating our applications later on. You'll need to add your IP address. In this case, our localhost IP is already added, and as you can see, it's already IPv6 compatible. The debugger settings are if you're using Eclipse. Eclipse has a built-in debugger that now ties into ColdFusion 8. We'll go ahead and open Notepad and start our first application. I've got a basic HTML document here, and we're going to go ahead and add a CF set for a variable 1, and variable 1 is going to be set to Hello World. We'll then output that variable using CF output. CF output is similar to echo or print in other languages, and variables are referenced with pound signs on either side of the variable name. And since ColdFusion is a scripting language, it's common to put in tags on most of the on your tags. The index.cfm file is saved in the ColdFusion 8 www root folder. That's if you're using the built-in web server, otherwise you'd save it in your IIS or your Apache folder. CFM is the extension. You'll also see CFCs, which are components. We won't get into that in this tutorial, but it's something that you should look into. If you open a browser and go to localhost port 8500/index.cfm, we'll see our Hello World application that we just created. Hello World's being output from the variable. The next thing we can do is go into Notepad, create a basic form with a first name and a last name field, and we'll go ahead and output the results of that form to the screen using CFIF is defined form.firstname, which is the form scope and the first name variable. And we also want to see if the last name was filled in as well, using isDefined form.lastName. We'll then output the first name and the last name to the screen, just like we did in our Hello World example. Again, you see the pound signs on either side of the variables that identifies the variable as a variable, similar to the $sign in PHP or other languages. Closing the CF output and the CFIF, and we'll add a little hello in front of that, and go to our browser and run this form and see what we get. Type in my first name and my last name, and when we click submit, it should say hello, Chris Kenworthy. And there we go.